Okay, our next step is opening our two images that we've made, our two panoramics. We're going to open those up in Photoshop. So I'm going to go back to Lightroom, and here is our Milky Way shot. And I want to add this to a quick collection. And the way that I'm going to do that is by highlighting the image, clicking on it, and pressing B, and that adds it to a quick collection. And I am then going to go and find our foreground image, which is here, and also add it to a quick collection by pressing B, as in boy. Then I can go up to where it says quick collection, and I've got the two images next to each other. And this is how I overcome the problem of not having the images in the same folder. It's best to have them in the same folder, but I'd put them in separate ones for the sake of demonstrating this. So this is just a way to overcome it. You don't have to do the quick collection if they're next to each other in the folder. It's just what I'm doing here to overcome them and overcome that and have them next to each other on the library screen. So I'm going to do a few adjustments to each one of these images before we take them into Photoshop. And the first thing I want to do is go into the Develop module, scroll down, and hit Remove Chromatic Aberration. We want to do this on all of our photos, so I'm going to go ahead and just do it to this one before I forget. And when I come back to the sky exposure, the Milky Way exposure, I'm also going to hit Enable Profile Corrections. And we want to do that on our Milky Way shots because it is so dark in the corners when you do Milky Way exposures. We really want to try to mitigate that. So it did not find our lens when we clicked it. That's because it went through Starry Landscape Stacker, and I think some of the metadata was lost. But Dongchen shot this with a Nikon, and he shot it with Nikon 14 to 24, and it looks like it found the correct lens there. And you can really see the difference in the corners of the darkness level. It looks like it does stretch it out a little bit, but I think that is a good change to the photo. We really don't like that super dark area on the corners. So I also noticed that the brightness level between the two shots is quite different. You can see there's a lot of data here in the middle of this shot, whereas there's almost no image data here aside from the stars and the lights. It looks like most of the image is contained to the bottom 30% on the histogram. To compensate and more evenly level these two images out, I'm going to pull up on the exposure slider and try to create some more brightness in that sky. I think that's good. I might also just crank the whites a little bit because it does tend to make the Milky Way pop here in this area. I'm also noticing some green glow here under the Milky Way, and I want to try to counter that a little bit by adding a little magenta, and I think that does an alright job, but I'm still seeing some of it. So this is something that in Photoshop we will be addressing to try to remove some of that green glow, because I think it distracts from our image. And you can see in this final image we've removed quite a bit of that green glow. So I don't want to do a whole lot to my foreground here. I want to save those adjustments for Photoshop. I kind of like just how it is, with the exception of remove chromatic aberration, which we really want to make sure we do. So now that these two images are what I consider ready to be taken into Photoshop, I'm going to highlight them, right click, go to Edit In, and not click this one, the Edit in Photoshop 2018. I'm going to go down to Open as Layers in Photoshop. That way, Photoshop will smartly open up both of these images and put them as layers in the same document. This helps with sizing, and it just is a shortcut to save time. So here we are. I've got the foreground here, and I've also got the sky exposure on top of each other in the same Photoshop document. Just a quick note, if you wanted to apply any sharpening or noise reduction to an image before bringing it into Photoshop, make sure you do that, because I did not. I like to do that afterwards, but I know a lot of people like to do it before they bring it into Photoshop. So that will end this part of the video.